Hey y'all, name's Clover. Welcome to the next installment of the Creator Compass series. And if you're new to the channel, Creator Compass is a series I've been working on to help give creators a strong foundation and guide through the tough world of content creation. Now, it ain't meant to be an end-all be-all set of rules, but rather a helpful set of strategies you can shape and form to your own needs and goals as a creator. This video is going to be a bit more niche. Those that are familiar with my streams will know that I run lots of interesting and interactive programs during my live stream. And I'm often asked exactly what those programs are and how they all work. So today, we're going to be peeking behind the curtain at all the programs I use, what they do, and why I use them. And at the end, I'll be showing y'all 2 different hardware test streams that I've done on 2 separate PC builds to give y'all an idea on how well your own system at home might could handle these same programs. And before we get into it, I do want to be upfront that this ain't a tutorial video. None of my Creator Compass series videos are technically a tutorial, but this one specifically, I want to make sure y'all are aware. I'm going to be walking you through each of the programs I use, but I won't be showing you how to set any of them up or how to use them. And quite frankly, the reason is because I'm still learning how to use them too. When I run into something I can't figure out, I go check out YouTube videos, I look in the Discord and get involved with the community, checking out forums and things like that. Most of what I've learned and most of what I know is because of other YouTube tutorials and in-depth guides through Discord and things like that. So that's what I'd recommend y'all do as well. That's what this video is about. It's getting eyes on what is possible and what could possibly work for you on your stream. And another thing, every single one of the programs I'm about to show you outside of the art programs that we do during the test stream are all completely free to use. They're free to download, free to use, all that good stuff. So if something catches your eye today, there's really nothing stopping you from going out and giving it a try. So the first thing folks notice when they come into my stream is the world that I stream in. I've got this gorgeous barnyard background with the windmill moving, grass swaying, cozy little particles in the air, and all of this is made possible through a program called VNyan. And what VNyan is basically is a real-time 3D environment tool built specifically for streamers and VTubers. You can think of it kind of like a mini video game where you can load up 3D scenes, set up cameras, add animations, wire up events, add in objects, and so much more. The program comes with a few starter worlds to play around with, and you can also find plenty more options on both Ko-fi and VGen, and even in their Discord. The world I used was custom built by a super talented artist named Marshmallow VT. I highly recommend y'all giving him a look. But if you're skilled in 3D rendering and Unity exports, there's a bunch of great tutorials on how to create your own world as well, and a really kind and active community on their Discord who are willing to help you out with any questions you may have. And at this point, you might be thinking, now wait a minute, Clover. Ain't all your avatars 2D though? How do you have them showing in a 3D world? Well, I do this using a feature called Spout 2 Capture. And basically what Spout 2 is a way for programs to share live video feed directly to each other. You can kind of think of this like a virtual TV screen. My avatar is being rendered in a totally different program entirely on itself, separate from VNyan, and then is being broadcasted to the Spout 2 screen I've placed inside VNyan to give the illusion that it's actually within the 3D environment. And a sneaky way I make my game screen look like it's in the world is by placing a green screen in the world and then chroma keying it out so I can place the screen share underneath the VNyan layer in OBS. It's a bit of a little workaround trick, but it works really well for me. So now that you have an understanding of how the 3D world works, let's talk more about the 2D assets shown inside. Because we talked about the Spout 2 capture into VNyan, but where is it actually coming from? So I actually show 2 different Spout 2 captures in my 3D world. The first one is for me, my 2D avatar and everything that I move around like this, right? And the second is for my TTS pet, Lux. For myself, I use VTube Studios. If you're at all familiar with VTubing or have heard of any VTubing software, this is probably the one you're aware of. It is the industry standard for running live 2D models with face tracking. Very basically how this program works is it takes camera data from your phone or webcam and then translates that face movement that it picks up into VTuber expressions and movement. And then that resulting VTuber movement that y'all see is then transferred over to VNN through Spout 2, and that's pretty much it. That's how we get my model moving and then showing in VNN. There's also a bunch of really cool effects and different things that you can tweak within VTube Studios. It's a really great free to use VTubing software. And then for my TTS pet Clux, I use a program called VideoTube Mini, and it's like 2D VTubing light. It's easier to get started and make in general because it's just a few images put together that move based on sound input. Many VTubers start off with GIFs or PNGs just like this. I like to keep Clux as a PNG or GIF tuber so that I can better place them throughout my 3D world, since I'm able to send that data on a separate Spout 2 capture. And I can easily route my TTS output through VTube Mini to give Clux the illusion of yapping at y'all. On the topic of yapping, the program I like to use for TTS is called VTS Pog. All right, y'all keeping up? I know there's a lot of programs going on here, but VTS Pog can be linked to your Twitch to look for certain events like subscriptions, cheers, so on and so forth, and then plug the messages sent with those events into the TTS. When someone cheers 100 bits, for example, and they go, yippee! That message that says yippee goes into VTS Pog and then comes out as whatever TTS that you have set up with VTS Pog so that they can hear it. Then you can route that audio to your program of choice. In this case, I'm using VideoTube Mini. And then, yeah, now you got a yapping little TTS pet. Personally though, I like to have more control over how my TTS pet acts and responds to things. So I actually use another program called Mix It Up to handle all the incoming events and decide what output VTS Pog should run through the TTS. So I don't have my VTS Pog connected to my Twitch or YouTube or anything like that. Go into Mix It Up, let Mix It Up listen for the event, and then let Mix It Up tell VTS Pog what it should say. And I know this is getting like super complicated really fast, but Mix It Up, it is the lifeblood of my streams. If you take nothing else away from this video, Mix It Up is the thing you should look into. It is my #1 recommended tool for all streamers, okay? Simply put, what Mix It Up is a stream automation and bot platform. So basically, it handles all the behind the scenes stuff for my streams. Responding to events, TTS, running commands, managing channel point redemptions, all that kind of stuff, right? Basically, if something is happening on stream and it's already got some sort of automated response going on, Mix It Up is almost 100% always the one that's handling all of that. So in this particular instance, for example, Mix It Up is what tells Clux when to speak, what to say, and how to say it. For what I've done with Clux, I've actually written custom Python scripts and created some Mix It Up internal conditional logic that makes Clux have their own unique voice lines for specific moments. And if you're a regular at stream, you know exactly what I'm talking about. As many of y'all know, she can be a real sassy chicken. And that entire personality has been built through code and runs through Mix It Up. It would not be possible without Mix It Up. To be honest with y'all, it takes quite a bit to learn. It took me a while to get used to, but the payoff is so huge. It is so worth it. At this point, those are all my heavy hitters. That's all the big applications that I'm running. After that, you're kind of just looking at your basic streaming stuff. Like I use OBS, which is what captures everything I do and sends it over to Twitch. So all the layers that I've talked about, VNN output, chroma keying, screen share, alerts, Mix It Up, all that stuff is being composed in OBS, right? It's all going in there. I also use Stream Elements for my multi-streaming, though as of right now recording this, there's a little bit of up in the air if Stream Elements is going to be around. So if Stream Elements is still around while you're watching this video, awesome. That's what I use for multi-streaming. If not, then I'm probably going to start using ATM. But all that to say, OBS is the streaming software that I use, and I highly recommend it. It is free, open source, super awesome. So there's lots of plugins and things like that. It can be a little confusing if you are a brand new streamer, but if you're a brand new streamer and you're still watching this far in the video, I'm so sorry because you probably already had your brain cells completely completely fried by all the programs that I've showed you. OBS is actually the easiest program out of everything I've talked about today. Anyways, I digress. So I have OBS running. I've got the Stream Elements multi-streaming plugin going with it. I do have a Stream Deck. It's a powerful device with programmable buttons. One button can help you switch screens. You can mute audio, trigger mix-it-up commands, pull up sound effects, move things around in VN, all that good stuff. You name it. Stream Deck is awesome. It's just like a giant extra keyboard of hotkeys. So definitely worth the money. If you have the money, that's the one thing on here that really ain't free. There are free alternatives that you can set up with your phone that I've heard of. I also use Stream Avatars. That's what all my little buddies there at the bottom, the chickens and the cows, that everyone can set up and customize. Stream Avatars is really great. I think it costs a little bit on Steam. I don't remember how much. I bought it years and years ago, but what it does is it puts little characters on the screen for folks to watch and mess around with, interact with live. So you can customize it however you want. You can have it so that it's follower only, subscriber only, whatever, and then your viewers can go in and customize their character, things that you've put in with it. It's a great little interactive tool that you can show your community on screen, and I think it's really cool to be able to see all your guys there. For my multi-chat tool while I'm streaming, because I do stream to Twitch and YouTube at the same time, I was using the Stream Elements multi-live chat that I could combine chat on my OBS so that I could see everything. I had troubles with it, so ended up my husband actually built one custom for me. He calls it Go for Chat. It's a local program I use to read chat, but it is another program that is running on my PC along top of everything else. You can kind of think of it like Caster Labs, except it's my own home recipe for that. And then worth mentioning, it don't really use up a whole lot of stuff, but I do run Spotify in the background, and then just make sure that it doesn't save to my VODs on Twitch. I do run Spotify on top of all those other programs. Now, that's just what I use day to day on any given stream. Whether it's just chatting, gaming, making art, those are all the things that I use. As we transition into the next part of this video, where we talk about the hardware test, right? So I ran all these programs together and then used Clip Studio's Paint and Live 2D to make VTuber models. These are some pretty heavy hitting programs, so let me kind of explain those before I show you all the hardware tests so you can understand exactly what it is that we were doing, and what this data means. First things first, I like to create my own VTuber models. If you got this far, you probably know that by now. If you watch my content regularly, you'll see that I make all kinds of models all the time. I can't even stay the same character half the time. So Clip Studio's Paint is where I make all my digital art. I used to use Krita. It's a free to use art program. It's super awesome. That's what I'd recommend if you're thinking about getting into digital art. It's great. I used it for years. I only switched to Clip Studio Paint when I started taking commissions and needed a better program for seeing PSD files and things like that. But I digress, right? This is where I do drawing, model making, the very base art and layer separation for making my models. And then Live 2D is the program that I animate in. So you can kind of think of it like giving the art bones, kind of, except bones is more terminology, I think, for 3D, but it gets the point across. It's where the animation happens, right? So it's the process of taking a flat 2D illustration and making it move. And when streaming the process, it's Live 2D specifically is genuinely the most resource intensive thing I do on this PC. It's the heaviest hitter. Even out of all the programs I use, everything that I've listed, Live 2D is the most resource intensive thing out of everything. Alrighty, y'all. I want to make sure everyone understands what it is we're actually looking at before we jump into these numbers, because if this is the first time you've ever looked at OBS stats before, this is going to look like a whole lot of nothing real fast. That's coming from experience, because I had to try to figure out what all this meant too. So basically there's two numbers that we're going to be referencing throughout this entire section. The first is our CPU usage, and basically what that is how hard our processor is running. If that number gets too high, then the stream starts to struggle. The lower the number, the better we're doing. The second number we're looking at is render frame time. This is measured in milliseconds, and basically how that works is it's how long it takes for your PC to put together each frame of your stream before it sends it out. Again, the lower the number is, the better, because when that number starts to creep up, that means that's where you're going to start seeing frames dropping, lagging, and all kinds of other ugly stuff on stream that we don't want to see. All right, so those two numbers put together give you a pretty clear picture on how healthy your stream is. Now, I'm just going to real quick show you a clip from stream where I talk about the environment and everything we're going to get going. Go past Clover. Speak the thing. because normally my setup is split between 2 PCs, but today I'm running everything on just one machine. So my streaming PC is also going to be the PC that I'm rigging and doing art, right? So we've got OBS going, VNyan, VTube Studios, Mix It Up, StreamerBot, Stream Avatars, and also going to have Clip Studios Paint and Live 2D running. So we got a whole bunch of things running on one PC today. We're going to do a little stress test. I'm going to zoom the camera out so we can see more of the environment and kind of see what gets all messed up, see where the objects go. And also going to have a 2D version of me in the corner for us to see how everything's tracking, everything's handling. And there are also going to be stats so we can see frame rate and see things like that, so we can have tangible statistics on what's going on. In 3, 2, 1, go nuts. Whoa, chaos! Honestly held up pretty well. So I'm gonna go through all of the different tests and the numbers and everything so we can look at it very clearly side by side. So up on the screen, you'll see on one side we've got our old PC specs from the old 4-year-old PC that I had, and on the other side we're gonna have MAINGEAR and all of their specs, and just go kind of down the line of everything that we tested and all the numbers that we produced. Starting at the baseline with a normal stream, no special events firing or anything extra going on. The personal build, the CPU was sitting at 3 to 4.5%. Render frames around 1.5 to 2.5 milliseconds. And honestly, for a 4-year-old processor running every single program I just walked you through, I mean, that's super impressive. Like, it handles the job just fine. The MAINGEAR MG-1 Sapphire, that CPU was sitting at 0.5 to 1.5%, which is already like less than half of what the old PC was doing, right? Render frames were at 0.5 to 0.8 milliseconds. Amazing, phenomenal. Like, this is noticeably lower across the board. But to be fair, at baseline, neither of these machines are breaking a sweat. Like, they're both handling pretty well, in my opinion. Once we started off our first chaos event, where chat could spam the !chaos command and start spawning in throwables, we start to see a little bit more from these PCs, right? So the personal build bumps up to 4.5 to 5.5% on CPU, and it actually does spike at 7%, right? And the render frames start pushing into the 3.5 milliseconds. It's still holding up pretty well, but you can see it's starting to feel it a little bit, right? The MAINGEAR build sits at 0.88 to 1.4% on the CPU. It doesn't really go outside those ranges. It does spike at 2.1%. And then the render frames are at 0.6 to 0.7 milliseconds. So like, honestly, it barely registered anything at all. As we moved into the roller coaster event where chat could join in on the roller coaster and we're moving around in the interactive world, the personal build sat at 3.5 to 5% on CPU usage, where the render frames were at 1.6 to 2.5 milliseconds. Honestly, it was still handling pretty well in my opinion. MAINGEAR's build was at 0.7 to 1.5% CPU usage, and the render frames at 0.6 to 0.7 milliseconds. I mean, it's just hanging out. It like literally saw no difference. So at this point, it's time to kick it up a notch. We got our roller coaster going. Let's do our chaos command on top of that. On the personal build, the Mix It Up actually just decided to close itself. Like, Mix It Up actually crashed. And if you remember from earlier in the video, what we talked about, what Mix It Up is, it is like our whole product manager behind the scenes, the whole operations manager behind the scenes, right? So when Mix It Up goes down, that means everything stops working. I don't know if this was due to overload from the amount of commands it was getting, if it was something like lowest on the totem pole, but I did find that interesting that Mix It Up just checked out from the scene. Even after Mix It Up closed down, the render frames were spiked up to 3.2 milliseconds. It was managing. The stream itself didn't seem to stutter or lag or anything like that, but that came with the fact that it started cutting programs behind the scenes. On the MAINGEAR build, I genuinely saw no meaningful change in either number. Mix It Up stayed open, everything kept working, and nothing felt the need to shut off at all, right? And it just did fine. The numbers just genuinely did not move. So at this point, we've shut down all of the crazy chaos stress tests, and we're moving into actual creative workflow. Now, this is a little different than gaming because, you know, art and Live 2D, these are two totally different programs than if you were running like video games. However, they both are more difficult on your PC, in my opinion, than a lot of games will be. So it still makes a really good test for what we got going on. With Clip Studios Paint open and running alongside the stream, the personal build was sitting at 3.5 to 5.5% CPU. It did spike at like 6% every once in a while, and render frames went up to 3.5 milliseconds. Somewhere along the way, we also picked up about 10 skip frames and 10 missed frames here, but the stream didn't break, and it's something that you probably wouldn't notice right away when those frames are skipping, but it was there and something worth noting. Main gear build, the CPU was at 1 to 1.5% the whole time. It did spike at around 1.9% at some given point, and then render frames were at 0.6 to 1 millisecond. No noticeable frame drops at all. It's just hanging out. With Live 2D open, this is our real powerhouse, right? We had about 2 full hours of rigging per stream. Okay, so the personal build, the CPU was at 3.5 to 5.5% throughout the entire time of using Live 2D. Render frames averaged around 1.8 milliseconds, but we did notice a couple times the FPS started to dip down into 55 frames per second instead of the usual 60, which is a step in the rigging process where Live 2D rebuilds all of its image data. The FPS dropped all the way down to 39, and that's a pretty big dip to have in the middle of a live stream. On the MAINGEAR PC, the CPU was at 1.2 to 1.7% throughout the entire time. Render frames at 0.6 to 0.8 milliseconds. We did see a spike at 2% on CPU usage during texture atlas creation specifically, and we did miss a frame. Only one. We missed and skipped one frame. So there's a big difference already, but it was smooth all the way through. Then it came time to export our project, right? And this is the one I really want y'all to pay attention to on that graphic, because this is where the personal build really hits its wall. So during the export test on my personal PC, oh buddy, did it have a rough time. The FPS tanked to 17. 17. Okay, render frames hit 39.5 milliseconds. We lost hundreds of frames dropped, major audio and visual loss. The CPU spiked to like 6 or 7%. These are the kinds of things that makes a live stream pretty much unwatchable for a good chunk of time. Also, something worth noting is that the export time took 39 seconds. But the stream basically fell apart while it was happening. On the MAINGEAR MG-1 Sapphire, like it took 19 seconds to export our project. It's the same project, the same parameters and everything. Took 19 seconds. The CPU stayed at 1.4 to 1.6% with a render spike of only 1.7 milliseconds. That was its spike, was 1.7 milliseconds. We saw no audio issues, no lag, and it was done in half the time. And so like the bigger picture of all of these tests of everything that we're looking at right now, right? The story here is that the personal build with the 4-year-old Intel i9 processor actually holds up really well. The baseline numbers prove that it's still a very capable machine. But once you start layering creative work on top of it, it starts, we start having to make some choices, right? Things start to close down. We have to decide what resources are being used where, frames get dropped, and you're really trying to manage around the system instead of stream to your full creative potential. The Intel Core Ultra 7 270K Plus, it didn't make me manage around anything at all. And for someone who streams and creates at the same time, that difference really means everything. And I want to take a moment to talk about Intel and MAINGEAR for a second, because as y'all know, I am partnered with MAINGEAR, and Intel has made all of this possible for me to even be able to test these systems out, right? And I want to be straight with y'all about why I actually trust what they put together for me here. The system I'm on now is the MAINGEAR MG-1 Sapphire. That's the one with the all-new Intel Core Ultra 7 270K Plus and the RTX 5080. And the data we just walked through is showing how that all works in real time. So what actually happened when I sat down and stress tested this system against everything I actually do on stream, we got to see in real time how it just handles it, no problem. Now, if you're watching this and you're early in your journey, you don't have quite the budget, and you're thinking, I need to buy this whole big system to make my stream work, just because this system worked really, really well, it doesn't mean that that's the end-all be-all system that you need to make your stream work flawlessly. Because if you remember, that 4-year-old processor that we were using was handling just fine. So if you're looking for something that better fits your budget, MAINGEAR has a ton of pre-builds to look through, and you can easily swap out any parts you want to better fit your needs. And if that all sounds super confusing and intimidating to figure out, MAINGEAR also has a support team who is always happy to help you find the perfect build for your needs. You'll still be working with a new system, so you won't be working with the same 4-year-old system that I was using before. It's genuinely a solid starting point if you're looking to invest in something that will grow with you. And if you do decide to check out MAINGEAR, I highly recommend that you use my link, maingear.com/Clover, because that helps support me too. That's pretty much it. That is the whole setup. That's all the programs I use, the systems I've used to make it work. Every program, every layer, all of it, right? And I know it's a lot, right? It's kind of like, feels like drinking from a fire hose. But remember that none of this was built overnight. I built all of this piece by piece, figured out what worked, swapped out what didn't. And to this day, I'm still tweaking and trying to figure out what works best for me. Naturally, that's something that you as a creator should do for yourself, is figure out which of these things can help you and which of them can't. What kind of hardware can help you and what is overkill for the creative process that you have going on for your own journey. And if you have any questions about the programs I've talked about, feel free to drop them in the comments below. I do my best to read every comment that comes through, so if I can't help you, then I can at least point you in the right direction so that you can get your questions answered. If this is your first Creator Compass video, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the rest of the series. I've talked about all kinds of stuff, from how to get started to what I've done to make it where I am today. Thank y'all so much for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.